Dear fellow adventurer, 2020 is quickly coming to an end, and this year has been one of the craziest roller coaster rides of emotions. Let's be honest with ourselves. 2020 has been a pretty sucky year overall. But one thing that 2020 has taught me is that resilience first starts with the mindset to accept change. During this year, there were so many instances where I felt like I was met with an impenetrable wall of insurmountable problems. But instead of panicking over not being able to change the circumstances, so many of us thought about the problem in a different way and adapted our lifestyles as well as our mindsets to accept the challenge and look for ways to creatively break through. So before this year ends, I wanted to take the same mindset and apply it to my final watercolor project of the year. I've actually had this particular project in mind for almost 2 years now, but to be perfectly honest, was pretty scared about tackling it. Simply because I didn't know what the outcome would be, or if I could even tackle this method of painting. But that mindset won't allow me to grow or even improve my art. So I decided to tackle painting with watercolor on something other than paper. How did I do this? First, I decided to use watercolor ground and apply a thick coat of white along the surface of an old scratched up record. After allowing a lot of time to dry, and trust me, this was a long time, I then began to paint along the surface and immediately began to face problems. As I tried to glaze over the previously painted layers, my colors began to lift. So I had to think creatively and attack the problem head on. Since the paint wasn't adhering well to the surface, I knew I needed to use only extremely staining watercolors for this painting. I also knew immediately that I needed to limit my paint layers to 1 or 2 layers max. Thus, I basically had to paint the color hue that I desired in one coat. And after adjusting my mindset as well as my work method, things began to progress a lot smoother than they did in the beginning. And I have to say, after adding a couple of watercolor pencil textures as well as ink lines, I think the final project came out pretty well. So what's the hack or tip that I have for you in this letter? Well, first off, don't be afraid to tackle obstacles with creative thinking. First, try and figure out what the problem is and then come up with a creative solution, such as using watercolor ground to paint on something other than paper and then using only staining watercolors to help your color hues stick to this surface. So with 2020 winding down, I challenge you to approach 2021 with a mindset of change as well as ingenuity to tackle whatever may come our way. Hello there, my lovely Misfitians, and welcome to this week's video. So I hope you really enjoyed this week's Dear Fellow Adventurer. I'm going to continue this series into the new year. I've actually really enjoyed doing it and just really getting my creative juices going, not just with the projects, but also with the filming. And it looks like all of you have also really liked this particular video style. So I'm going to continue this on through the new year. I do want to show you the finished product. So this is kind of what it looks like right here. And I really like it. I think I'm going to hang it on the wall somewhere. If you want to do this for yourself, just make sure that you have a lot of dry time for the watercolor ground. And actually, I did put gesso on this first before I put the watercolor ground on it, because watercolor ground is pretty expensive and I could get gesso really cheap. So I just started with a gesso layer first. That's an extra little tip for you. I do want to say, if you would like this particular drawing template for free for a certain amount of time, we're gonna do the likes thing again. So if y'all will hit a like on this video, and this video gets to, let's do 500 likes again, but it has to get to 500 likes before Christmas, because I'd like to give it away for Christmas. If you can get 500 likes before Christmas on this video, I will give this drawing template away for free. And also make sure to get inside of Misfit Land before Christmas. I have a couple of special announcements as well as maybe some gifts for y'all for Christmas or New Year's. So make sure to get involved in that if you really want some nice extra free stuff from me. Also, this week, these are the challenge, Misfit Challenge Spotlight people who did the Moon Challenge for this particular month. I want to showcase them. They've done a really good job. I have been watching and looking for those particular paintings whenever we do a month challenge long video thing. So anyway, these are them. And that is it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next info video. Bye.